Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Marriage is Tougher Than Woodpecker Lips podcast. This is Brian, joined by my co host, Paul. We'd like to welcome you to a community meant for the men of the world to share their thoughts and perspectives on marriage. We can learn from each other's experiences and help each other be better husbands. This week on the pod, we want to talk about the gift of marriage. This is the season for giving, right? And what does that mean for our marriage? How is our marriage a gift to us? And then I think we might even talk about how our marriage can be a gift to the community as well, just as I'm thinking off the top of my head. But yeah, that's the rabbit hole we're
Yeah,
going to go down
and
today.
so we can jump fully into this episode. Just wanted to say, if you're new, thank you for stopping by. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, if you've been rocking with us for a while, we appreciate it and welcome back. And as always, if you can continue this conversation on any of our social media channels, so TikTok, Facebook, not TikTok if you follow Brian, be kind, Facebook, Instagram, or go to our website, marriageistougher.com. If you'd like to be a guest, you can fill out the form there as well as find all of our episodes. So again, we just appreciate you. We would love to continue or have a conversation with you. So reach out to us there. But let's get into this episode.
Yeah. And we're now, I think, official Brian Hooks on TikTok.
Oh, well, see, look at that.
So, I mean, if y'all feel like searching it, that's where you'll find me. But yeah, you'll find
You
some
are
clips
official.
over there.
Yeah.
I try to be. Put it that way.
But yeah, man, just the transition. This is the giving season. This is, when we celebrate the gift of Christ to the world, and just thinking about giving. How do we represent that? And by giving gifts to others. So, just thinking about on the topic of our marriage is a gift. Um, I see it as such. My wife is a gift. Our collective purpose is a gift to each other. It's a gift to our family, and it's a gift everywhere that we go. If we are walking fully or striving to walk out our marriage as best we can, with the purpose of serving one another. And if we're serving our wife and we want her to win, then and she's serving us in that same capacity, then it is a gift. And just thinking about starting that there. And I think that all came apart. I was talking to Brian earlier that I had breakfast with these two amazing guys. They're 48 years and 43 years married. And that just came across. The one thing one of them said was, if you both look to have your spouse win, then your marriage will be in great shape, in a great place. And I was like, oh man. And I just sat there and let it marinate.
I like the idea of that. If you look for your spouse to win, I would also say you can't expect that to happen on your timeline. And the reason I say that is my wife just got a job, and I have been looking for her to do that all of our relationship. We've been together for a significant amount of time, and it's just happening. And I'm very happy for her. I'm proud that she's taken that leap. But there was a time where I wanted it to happen on my timeline, right? And that is not necessarily being supportive in the way that you should, right? It was something that we weren't necessarily talking about. We learned to do that, but yeah, man, that's one of the biggest lessons I've had of my marriage is you can be supportive of your spouse and want the best for them, and you might get in trouble by establishing your own goals for their life.
Ooh, which is nuts when you think about it. But it's
Yeah.
also right. It's the things that we learn in marriage. Segueing, the things that we learn in marriage is a gift to ourselves, and that gift of knowing that everyone is kind of autonomous, and how do we support them in their autonomy, and meaning like God has a purpose for them, and what that looks like may not look like what we look like, gives us freedom to let things go when it's not happening. We find what is our part, like how do we support, right? But that helps with our kids when we learn that lesson. That helps with our friends. That helps with people that are coming to us for advice. Like, I can give you what I can give you, but you have the choice to do whatever you want with that. And it frees us up from feeling some type of way if if it doesn't go the way we think it should. Um, and that's a valuable lesson, and that's a example of what we're talking about, like the gift of marriage. And there's so many things that we learn about ourselves and our spouses, and how they help teach us, and how God helps grow us up,
Oh,
because we're married.
speaking of the gift of my wife from God was a path of humbling myself, which I would also call a gift, right?
Mm-hmm.
So before I met my wife, I had lost a career in the restaurant industry. That happened about 2.5 years before I met her, maybe 2 years. But so I lost a career that I thought I was going to spend most of my life in. And what felt like me going backwards in that 2 year period, from then going into like the construction industry, um, going back into the restaurant, but at like the ground floor of being a server and bartender again. Um, enter Katie. That's when I met my wife. Think about that 2 year period of me really having to like humble myself, right? Um, in the fashion where like I had a nice job, wasn't making a ton of money, uh, but I was comfortable as a single man, right? And like it just all went away in seemingly a flash, right? And it was at no fault of my own that I can reconcile or remember. And then I meet this lovely young lady, and like I now have nothing, right? To where 2 years ago I'd have walked in there strutting, right? And God puts this opportunity in front of me, and obviously it worked out the way it did. But even in the path of us becoming a couple, engaged and then married, I've had to still learn to humble myself, right? And it's almost like I won't call it relearn how to humble myself, but there, I'll say, are levels I've learned, right? So I'm humbled initially in take a step back, you need to reset. All right, cool. I'll follow your lead. And then which I often bring up on the podcast, living a single man's life, or trying to live a single man's life while in a relationship, right? And that's just to say that like I still wanted to have the freedom to go and do whatever I wanted to do whenever I wanted to do it. We all know how that works out. Um,
Right. Not
and
the best.
then right, and then being taught to humble myself in the manner of being vulnerable with my wife. It's just like, oh, in my mind, like a whole nother level that I was not prepared for. Needed to get prepared to do so. Am still struggling with it from time to time, but I think that is the biggest gift outside of my wife that I've received from God over this time of our relationship, is learning to step back, humble myself, and largely to gain more favor.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that for sure. The opposite of humility is pride, right? So in essence, there was a pride issue that had to be dealt with.
For sure.
But the light that I immediately thought of was, you never have to question if Katie's down for you, because she met you when you yourself are saying you had nothing, right? Had she met you where you were on top of the world, that's a little thing that your mind could play, like, did she really like me, or did she like the things that I could offer, and blah, blah, blah. If I don't have these things, will she leave, and blah, blah, blah. Like, always remember that.
Yeah.
Like, even when you're doubting yourself, like, as you progress through your career, like, you started with nothing, and that's how your relationship started. So she's not going anywhere.
Right.
And you don't ever have to, like, worry about that part. That was just so clear when you were talking, like, man, like, she's down for him. And, like, there was nothing he could, like, she just liked who he was.
Right.
Like, and that worked out. So, but there are levels, just trying to help anyone that's listening. Like, if you're struggling with humility or you're struggling with pride, like, if you're listening to his story, there's levels and there's refinement that happens. And as you grow, there'll be different areas that it's like, oh, I thought I was good. I didn't even know that I needed the humility, or I didn't even know to be prepared for this level of humility. Like, being super vulnerable and open to your wife is the ultimate level of humility. It's the ultimate killing of pride, because pride makes us want to be puffed up and look like we have it all together and know all the answers. But being fully vulnerable is, I don't, and I want you to still be here.
Yes.
I don't want you to leave. That is the scary part about it, man. Like, man, I heard a quote. Oh, did I write it down? Oh, man. There was a quote that I heard the other day, but in essence, it says, real strength is basically not what you can hide, but what you're able to show, right? Like, a lot of people think strength is what I can handle or what I can hide or what people can't see. But it's really strong to show people your failing points or the things that you struggle with. And I was just like, man, like, that's real.
Yeah, I would say that's a mark of a great leader, right? Because I think they go hand in hand, as most leaders want to show like where they are now, and this is what it is. This is, the facade is, this is how it's always been, as far as you've known me, right? But I don't think I've ever been closer to a leader than when they've showed me where they've had failures, and have also offered for me to learn from their failures in order for me to, have that leg up, right? I don't want to go down a path that we're not really actually talking about, but yeah, so I feel that.
And again, there's the gift of that is in marriage, like you said, is there's someone that you want to or need to open up to, right? Like when you're in a different relationship, you don't have you don't have to, right? Like it's good if you do, but and still within our marriages, it's still taking us steps to get to that place where it's like, okay, I'm fully vulnerable, I'm fully safe. I might have known or thought about the concept of it, but what am I holding back and not giving? And still finding it, like I said before, there's layers that we have to be prepared for, and each time we're vulnerable, then there's more opportunity to be more vulnerable, more humble. Um, just keep breaking down that pride that's in us all that helps us in life sometimes, but also doesn't. Yeah, as we're talking about um, marriage and the gift of marriage, it happens internally within our specific beings, right? You and your wife, but also reaches further into our families, right? As we modify or as we exemplify the gift and wanting each other to win, we have a healthy marriage that impacts our kids. They see a healthy marriage, they see what it's like to the role of a mom and a dad, and how spouses should interact, and that's what they can look forward. And when we have a healthy marriage, we get to effectively walk out who we are supposed to be when we're not with our spouse. So that pours into the community. So we're being our best versions of ourselves while we're at our jobs, out in the community, shopping, volunteering, whatever that is, because we have the foundation of that gift of marriage. That good marriage boosts us and gives us the stability and the confidence to be who we're supposed to be. And we get to spitball ideas with our spouse. We get to um, get checked by our spouse when we do or do not do the things that we have agreed to. And that makes us better citizens of where we live. And then when also, as we are modeling, you know, our gift of marriage, others see what that looks like. So as we're out together, we get to show what a healthy marriage looks like. So maybe those that haven't had that example see that and they want that. And we get to show that that is possible in this day and age. And we get to be a beacon of hope and kind of a light to the culture of marriage where 50% end up in divorce anyway, right? So there's this long effect of a gift. It's a gift that really keeps on giving. Not only with our immediate family, that I forgot to say is our extended family. They get a inside look on what marriage is that maybe the community at large might not see. But there's hope that we give to those that want to be married, desire to be married, or did not have a good example. And that is all how we can look at our marriage as a gift to each other, how we can grow individually, but how it impacts our communities as well. Um, so, with that, I think that's about it. We'll wrap up this episode, but just remember your marriage is a gift. If you're desiring to be married, that is a gift. Look at it as a gift and look at it as presenting to your spouse the best of you, um, humbly, and trying to have and look at it as you want your spouse to win. And if both of you look as wanting the other to win, your marriage will have a great foundation to move forward. So, again, if you got anything from this episode, let us know. Go to marriagestougher.com, leave a comment if you'd like to be a guest, or hit us up, slide in our DMs on Instagram, or look for us on Facebook. But we appreciate you spending time with us here, and we will talk to you next one.